Deck building is a mechanic that was pioneered by Dominion and used in so many games since then. It is loved by many, including myself. But there's always the question of how much control do you really have in a deck builder? How big of a role does luck play in a deck building game? Welcome to my channel, my name is Chance, and today I'm going to be reviewing a game called FlipToons. So, FlipToons, I think, does something interesting, and it kind of exposes the role that luck plays in a deck building game. And I find it's fascinating and unique as a game. Do I recommend FlipToons? You'll have to stick around to find out. But for now, let's just explore this game and talk about it a little bit. To start things off, I'm going to give a quick overview of how FlipToons works. So, as I mentioned, FlipToons is kind of a pure deck builder. Players are going to start with a hand of starter cards, which are pretty basic. They are not very good. All you're going to do on your turn for your first round, you're just going to shuffle up those 6 cards that you start with, and you just reveal them in a 2x3 grid. You're going to place them out in the order that you draw them. So if you notice here, you have no choices of what happens. You're just going to shuffle this deck and reveal. Basically, you're pulling a lever on a slot machine and seeing how many points you score. So there we go. We got our cards revealed in our 2x3 grid. And now we go through and just calculate how much fame we've generated. Because the theme of this is that we are putting on a cartoon show. We have a cast of characters and we're basically throwing them out on the stage to do their performances and seeing how much the audience enjoys it. And then the characters, we just are going to go through and see how much they score based on their position in the grid. The snail is just a solid performer. We gain 2 fame for the snail. The skunk scores us nothing. He's not a very good showman, but essentially if we scored the least fame during this round, we actually get to dismiss a card for free. We'll come back to that, but essentially this is a little catch-up starter card that you get to compare against your other players to see who scored the least fame during a round. And then we got the bee, another solid performer, but only a 1. People don't like him as much as the snail. Caterpillars, we got 2 of them right here. They are both scoring us nothing. They do have a nice little ability here. We'll come back to that one as well. Dragonfly, this one's scoring me +1 per unique adjacent card. So this one is the first one that kind of reveals to us a little bit of the inner workings of the game, because essentially this one is the first one that depends on the position of the other cast members in this show. So here we have them adjacent to the bee and the caterpillar. Those are both unique, so we gain 2 points for the dragonfly. So let's just add this up. We got 2 for the snail, we got 2 for the dragonfly, 1 for the bee, giving us a total of 5 fame in this first round. That's pretty standard score. I think you're going to score between 4 and 6 fame for your first round. And then we're just going to move on to the actions. So whoever's first player, they're going to start off with the actions, and each player gets to take up to 2 actions on their turn. The actions that are available to you are either dismissing a cast member, which is just removing them from your deck so you don't have to worry about their crappy performances in your show anymore, or purchasing a new character with your fame, because you put on a good show so people want to join your production. So in this case, I only have 5. I can't really do both the actions because dismissing will generally cost 5 fame. So I could do 1 dismiss action or 1 purchase action. If we look up here, we can see the market prices. These cards define the price of the cards below them. So you can see far left, this is going to cost me 3 fame if I want the eagle, and 15 fame if I want the cow. So the cow just not going to join my production yet. I got to put on a better performance before I can afford someone as popular as the cow. But I also have some abilities on my card. So I have like the caterpillar here. This one says it costs 3 to dismiss instead of 5. So that's a little bit of a discount for me. So what do I want to do? As first player, I'm going to say, you know what? I'm just going to add a performer to my production here. I'm going to add the dog. I can't do anything else, so my turn is over. So we're going to refill the market before it's the next player's turn, and we're going to look at the rank of the card, because the order of this market is always by the card's rank. We can see here in the left side, we got the rank, the eagle starting out at 2, we got the lion at 16, monkey 17, cow at 25. So I just drew the deer, which is 23. We're going to slot that in to this spot between the monkey and the cow. And these are the new values of the card. So you can see that I just made the lion pretty cheap for someone else. And the lion's a pretty high ranked card, so that seems like a steal for the next player. But once everyone's done with their action phase, so like I said, each player gets to take up 2 actions, you're just going to take all the cards that you have, so everything that you've played out, everything that you purchased, any cards that you may not have played during the round, and you're going to shuffle up that deck again. And all we're going to do is hope for the best. We're going to pull that lever on our slot machine, have a cartoon show, reveal our cards. Hey, look at that, I got the dog. And we have 1 card we did not play, and we calculate our fame again. So in this case, I got Caterpillar here, does me nothing. Skunk does me nothing. I got the Snail and the Bee again, my solid performers. Those are going to be worth 2 and 1 respectively. And then we got the Dragonfly. Once again, we got 2 unique characters next to it, so that's 2 points. But what's the dog here? It says, if there is at least 1 dog in the market or any other player's grid, he's going to score 5 points. I probably should have read that before buying it because there were no dogs in the market. I don't think anyone else has a dog yet. So dog scores me a whole 0 points. So now we just add up our points again. We got 2, 4, 5. I got 5 points again. I'm going to want to dismiss something. You know what? I think I want to get rid of the Caterpillar. We're going to dismiss that one. My turn's done. We're going to go on to the next player in turn order. I'm going to take my cards. We're going to shuffle those up and try to generate more fame again. Hopefully someone bought a dog this time, or a dog gets revealed in that market row. And that's the way the game works. As you can see, your choice is really just what cards are you adding to your deck. And you're going to try to find some synergies in here. Like we have the monkey out here. This one says that if it's placed in the upper row, we move this card to the row above. So it basically becomes a little bonus card in a upper row all by itself. It's going to enhance one of your performances, which is a cool little thematic tie-in. Then we have the lion. The lion's a little finicky because he says that he gets 3 points because he's a pretty solid performer. He's better than the snail. People like him. But he's going to get +4 if all adjacent cards are ranked 16 or lower. So if I have the lion, I may want to focus on buying lower ranked cards to make sure that his performance stands out and he scores a total of 7 points for me when he's placed out. Now, you can also see that I want to keep my deck probably pretty thin so I get the performers I want. That choice of adding performers versus taking away performers is kind of interesting. And you know what? Let's accelerate to the end game here. I'm gonna swap out this deck for an end game deck. Now, let's say I already shuffled this. I lied. I set this deck up. I wanted to show you a little bit more of this game. I wanted to show you some of the synergies of these cards so you have a better idea of FlipToons. So you know what? We got our deck. We're ready for this round. I've shuffled everything up. We're going to reveal these cards. Ooh, I got the Dragonfly. I haven't dismissed him yet. He's still in there. I got the Turkey. Ooh, the Turkey says stack this card on the previously placed card. Ooh, okay, well, the Turkey kind of just upshowed the Dragonfly. He just took over that performance. Now we got the Sheep. Ooh, the Sheep is, we'll come back to the Sheep. Butterfly has shown up. We got the Elephant. The Elephant is flip the previously placed card. Oh, yeah, yep, the Butterfly gets flipped over. And then we got the Rabbit. The Rabbit says stack this card on top of the first rabbit or face down card in your grid if possible. Ooh, you know what? I got that one because I kind of expected something to be flipped over. Now, next up, Donkey. This one's going to be if in the lower row, we're going to score some extra points. Then we're going to move on to the Cat. Ooh, that's just going to be plus extra points. So now I'm going to score my grid, and I'm going to see what I managed to achieve here. We got the Turkey. That's just a base 5 points. We got the Sheep. That's 1 plus 4 points if it's in the middle column. That's a win. That's another 5 points right there. Rabbit's just 3 points. Elephant, this is going to be 7 points because he flipped over a card. He's a big performer, but he kind of takes over the show from someone else. So then we have the Donkey. It's 1 point plus 5 if it's in the lower row. We also get a little dismiss bonus action there if we or he gets dismissed basically. Then we have the Cat. The Cat's really cool because it's 1 point plus 1 point per starting card I've dismissed. So you've noticed I've kept the Dragonfly. That means I've dismissed 5 of my starting cards. So that means the Cat here is worth a total of 6 points. So let's add that up. We got 5, 10, 13, 20, 26, and a total of 6. That's going to put us at a 32, and that's going to trigger the last round of the game because essentially the last round of the game triggers once one player gets more than 30 points with a reveal. That player is going to take the Critics' Choice Award, and then you're going to do your actions, do your potentially 2 actions. Then you just play one last round, and whoever generates fame on that last round wins FlipToons. Okay, so that's the overview out of the way. Now we can move on to actually discussing the game. And let's start with the things that I think are that are good about this game. One is the production of this. I enjoy the art. I like the style. There's that kind of nostalgic cartoon style to it. So it definitely brings up some memories of the days before kind of all cartoons were CGI, right? So that's a pro in my book. And then also the synergies between the cards. Like there are some very clear synergies that show up that you can see that they make those deck building choices clear to the player. So if someone hasn't played a deck builder, if someone's not familiar with Dominion, or there's like, too much reading on the Dominion cards, or too much understanding of the interplay between those cards, this one's pretty straightforward. Like we have the cow. This one is just copy the fame of one adjacent card. So if I can get that one to be adjacent to like the elephant, which is just a base 7, hey, that's a pretty good point thing right there. Then like the lion I've already talked about. And then we have the deer. This is 3 points if each face-up card in my grid is unique. So that's asking me to get a different cast of performers. Then we see the sheep. It wants to be in the middle column. So that's very luck-based, but it's there. And then the rabbit gets stacked on top of a face-down card. So I have something that's going to flip a card face down, maybe getting a rabbit in my deck to try to mitigate the damage of that face-down card could help out my grid. So there are some interesting synergies between this. And then just kind of get back to that thematic experience with this game. You're putting on this cartoon show, and it's just kind of fun to pull that lever, run this slot machine, flip out those cards, see what happens in your show. Like this turkey that kind of, he's a crazy little clown guy, and he is going to kind of override anyone else's performance. He's going to show up and just wreck them. And that could be bad if he showed up right after the elephant, and the elephant's like, what are you doing here, man? You're ruining the show. You just took away some fame points. I was doing good by myself. So I think if you actually look at some of these cards and what they do, it makes it interesting. Like the cat here looks hungry, and I'm assuming that he ate your starting cast. That's why he gets a bonus +1 point for each one you've dismissed. So yeah, there are some interesting little thematic tie-ins. Now, on to the deck building and kind of the thing I hinted at the intro of this video. And that's the amount of choice you have in a deck builder. Really, deck builders, I would say pure deck builders they're geared around what cards do you put into your deck? Which, deck building, that's the definition of it. So great. So things like Dominion, you are choosing what cards to put in your deck. You're choosing those synergies to go after. Same thing with FlipToons. You're seeing what cards are out there. You're trying to synergize those cards and get the things that you want in your deck that are going to kind of play off of each other. And I think that's a really good design. Like I love that design. I love making those choices. You're basically designing your own slot machine. Now let's go back to Dominion, because Dominion, you start it all. Lots of people familiar with it. When you pull that lever on Dominion, I feel like it does a good job of hiding the fact that it's a slot machine. You're going to draw your hand of cards, and there's going to be a little bit of cognitive load with you processing how to play those cards most efficiently. Essentially, there's probably only one real solution to the most efficient path of playing your cards. I would say there can be a little variability, but you and a computer are probably going to come up with like the same answer for how to efficiently play your hand in Dominion. There's not a whole lot of decision-making process once you've drawn that hand of cards. And this is where I think Dominion kind of hides its luck a little bit. It kind of says, because of that bit of cognitive load that you need to process the order of the cards, it kind of hides the fact that, yeah, it was kind of just luck, luck of the draw on what you managed to get. Whereas FlipToons, it just says, you know what? It is luck of the draw. And we're just going to have you place these cards in a grid in the order you draw them, and you get no decisions at all. So it kind of just exposes it. It just takes that slot machine. Like Dominion has a little black box built around a slot machine. You're pulling a lever. You don't know what's going on. FlipToons just says, I'm going to remove the black box, and this is a slot machine. It's a slot machine designed by you, which is the cool part about it, but it is a slot machine. So that's what FlipToons is doing. It's just saying, I'm going to reveal things, and you're going to get points based on the order you reveal them. And I don't know, it's neat. I would give it that. It's unique. It does what it wants to do very well. I really have no complaints about FlipToons. This even has a very serviceable solo mode. Like I played this solo a few times just learning the basics of the game, and I would say it was an entertaining experience to do that. It was fun to see these cards flip over. It was fun to try to get them to work together. It was semi-exciting to kind of have that little, I don't know, push your luck component of trying to get the cards that you wanted and seeing if they showed up in the order and seeing those fame numbers just climb and climb and climb. So it has some entertainment value. It has just a little bit of that uniqueness to it. It has a lot of good things going for it. But this leads me into my final question, and it's really just like, where does FlipToons fit in my collection? So for deck building, I'm not going to choose this one. I'm not even a huge fan of Dominion. If you've watched some of my videos, you probably already know that. I think Dominion is cool, but I think it pioneered a set of games that I really enjoy. Like I have so many other deck builders that I would choose over Dominion. It's not that I'm going to turn down a game of Dominion. It's just that with my deck builders, I like them to either be a little more, let's say funky, like Xenon Profiteer I recently reviewed, and I just find it interesting and fascinating, and I love playing Xenon Profiteer. Or I want my deck builders to give me a little more choice, a little more decision making when I draw those cards. So things like Clank, where I draw the cards and I have to decide where my character moves on the map. Or something like Tyrants of the Underdark, where it is basically a clone of Dominion, except it adds in an area control board, and I have to decide where am I deploying my troops or where am I eliminating other people's troops. So it adds in a bit more decision making. So I have my cards and I just play them out, but I have some decisions to make on that shared player board. Then Dune Imperium Uprising, the dual use cards. Yeah, I absolutely love that game, so that is a deck builder that I can get behind. So yeah, FlipToons falls kind of under that category of Dominion where I just don't, I enjoy deck building itself, but I don't enjoy kind of the pure deck building games. And then let's talk about, time frame and weight. This is a pretty light game. This falls under almost a filler category for me. But I would rather play something that has a little more interaction, a little more chaos. Like, yeah, I do like this slot machine mechanic where you're pulling that lever and seeing those pain points go up. That is a little bit of chaos. But I'd rather play something like, Slambo, which I recently reviewed. I really enjoy Slambo. That's going to be my filler game. That always brings out some laughs around the table. Or, check out my top 10 small box games. I talk about things like Bonanza at the top. I love that trading mechanic. A little more player interaction, getting people lively at the table. Or just even Love Letter, like pulling out a game of Love Letter. That's going to be in front of FlipToons for me. Then the scoring mechanic. So it is this grid-based scoring, which we've seen before. We have grid-based scoring in like Castle Combo. And I've recently played a new one called Naishi, but that is another one where you're just trying to get cards placed in the grid in the right order to maximize your score potential. But those two games, Castle Combo and Naishi, I should learn how to pronounce that one. Those ones, you have control over your grid. You are trying to organize your grid to maximize your points. So it kind of feels like you are having a little more influence over your score potential. So those games would probably go in front of this one, but I would say I don't even enjoy kind of that grid-based scoring, mainly because I'm lazy and I don't like adding up the points for every one of my cards in a grid. That's really the only downside I have with those games. And yeah, so I don't know if it even replaces grid-based scoring. So the problem is it doesn't really replace any of my deck builders. It isn't going to replace any of my filler games. And I think I like having a little more control over how grid-based scoring works in general, even though I'm not a huge fan of the genre. So for me, FlipToons really just doesn't fit in my collection. I think if you have, let's say, if I had kids and I wanted to introduce them to deck building, I think this would be phenomenal. If I played more board games with non-hobby board gamers and I wanted to show them what deck building is, I think this would be a joy. Like if you have family members that just don't do this and you want to bring out a game that has a mechanic that you have fallen in love with and you want to share that mechanic with other people and be like, look how cool this is. Yeah, FlipToons could be for you. It's just not for me. Like I said, I don't really have anything bad to say about FlipToons. It is a well done game. And you're just going to have to decide if it belongs in your collection or not. So that's going to do it for my review today. I hope you got something out of this. Let me know your thoughts on this. If you played this game, if you find that you're getting more out of this, I do actually think that like the solo mode in here is also very serviceable. And I do like playing some lighter solo games a lot of the time. Times. Ooh. And then I find this one to be pretty chill because it's just kind of entertaining to pull that lever and see what happens. But usually if I'm carrying around a solo game, it's going to be something like Food Chain Island, which has a nice little abstract numbers game to it, or Lucky Number 7, or the Lucky 7, sorry, not Lucky Number 7. The Lucky 7, which I've also reviewed, those are kind of my small box go-to solo games with a little more thinking behind them. So that being what it is, let me know if you have any questions about this game in the comments below, or if you have any other thoughts on this, or just thoughts on deck building in general. I kind of want to get into doing a series around mechanics in board games, so I'll probably dive into kind of the nuances of deck building, talking about FlipToons and Xenon Profiteer and Dominion and Clank and all those fun things. So yeah, that's going to do it for today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for spending your time with me. As always, I appreciate it, and I will talk to you next time.